When hearing about Mozart and other classic composers, you might picture a large opera house or concert hall. However, Mozart and Haydn invented the most intimate experience in the early 1700s, known as chamber music. A group of musicians are bringing that concept to audiences this week in the Magic City. Haley Burchett spoke with one of the founders of Dakota Chamber of Music, as well as a few musicians at Minot State University to learn more about their upcoming festival.
Charles Young started playing saxophone in the 4th grade because he wanted to play with his grandmother, who was also a saxophonist. Charles has been teaching woodwinds at Minot State for the last 6 years. He was invited to co-host the Dakota Chamber of Music by its co-founder, John Rumney.
Since I've been here, Dakota Chamber of Music has consistently been one of the most meaningful weeks of music making that I have year in, year out.
Eric Anderson, professor of cello and bass at MSU, shared that chamber music is special because there is always one person per instrument and no conductor. He says that each member must carry their own weight and that it is more rewarding due to the level of risk and independent responsibility.
The music is fun, but it's fun because of the people you share it with. It causes you to think about profound ideas, to laugh, to see growth in students, to see growth in yourself. It's those shared experiences, I think, that brings people back year after year.
All involved with the chamber are passionate about the power of connection it brings to faculty and students. No one could really explain it better than its founder, John Rumney.
The meaningful experiences these kids will never forget, and we never forget them either.
The festival begins Saturday, June 17th, and the final concert is on Thursday, June 22nd at Ann Nicole Nelson Hall. On the Minot State University campus, I'm Haley Burchett reporting for your news leader.
John is a co-founder because his wife Lynn helped him establish the chamber. Lynn died in 2015, and in her honor, a memorial scholarship fund was created specifically for MSU's chamber music students. It's grown so much that they were able to award more than $4,000 this summer, and they're appreciative of everyone that's donated in her memory. Now, attendance to the shows is free, and we'll have show times available on our website.